Hi, this is Adriana from Tasty Pastry Kitchen. Follow along to learn how to make these intensely chocolate and fudgy peppermint mocha brownies. Take 2 pieces of foil or parchment paper and use your 8x8 pan as a guide to make 2 layers. This helps in removal of the brownie after it has baked and ensures you get nice, presentable, clean edges when you want to cut them. To prevent sticking, give it a good application of cooking spray. I always do this in the sink so I don't make a mess. Now let's make the brownie batter. In a medium saucepan, melt your butter on medium-low heat. When it's about halfway melted, add your brown sugar and granulated white sugar. Once the butter is done melting, immediately turn off the heat. We're not trying to boil or scorch anything, but we're just trying to melt the butter and sugars very gently. Just use a whisk to combine it, and once it's semi-combined, remove it from the heat source. Off the heat, continue to whisk. In the beginning, you will see the fat from the butter separating, but if you keep mixing, the sugar will start to melt just a little bit, and you will get a slightly more homogeneous mixture that comes together and is slightly lighter in color. Allow this to cool almost completely before moving on to the next step. Whisk in 2 eggs, which you can grab cold from the fridge, cocoa powder, espresso powder, salt, baking powder, and vanilla. Use a whisk to combine this very thoroughly, making sure you grab any bits of cocoa that are stuck on the sides of the pan or in the corners. One little trick here, the length of time you spend on this step will determine the thickness of that lighter wrinkled layer that you see on the top of brownies. If you're really serious about getting a nice layer like that, you can do this step in a mixer. But since I'm topping these brownies with peppermint ganache in the end, I'm just gonna mix this until I see the batter is really smooth and shiny. The last ingredients we'll need are flour and semi-sweet chocolate chips. Use a spatula to gently fold and mix. Grab your well-greased and lined pan and scrape in the batter. Use a spatula to smooth the top a little. Place this on a middle rack in an oven that's been preheated to 350 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes. While the brownies are baking, let's make some peppermint white ganache for the top. Put some white chocolate and heavy cream in a microwave-safe bowl and heat in 15-second bursts, stirring between each heating interval. Just be careful because white chocolate burns really easily. Once the chocolate has completely melted, put it in the fridge to firm up until you're ready to decorate. Near the end of the baking time, test your brownies. Oven times are always guidelines, but never hard and fast rules. One thing to take away from this tutorial is that the key to fudgy brownies is to underbake them. If you're ever unsure, err on the side of underbaking. When you insert a skewer in the middle of these brownies, it'll definitely be wet but not gooey, and it'll have some crumbs attached. While the brownies are cooling, we can whip up our ganache. It will be cold and firm from the fridge. Take a mixer and mix on high speed. When we whip up the cream like this, it incorporates air into the ganache, making it very light and spreadable. At this point, you can add in your peppermint extract. A little bit goes a long way. If you find that your ganache is still too stiff after this, simply add a couple teaspoons of heavy cream to loosen things up. Time to frost your brownies. Take the cool brownies and remove the foil liners. They will be easier to cut and much neater if you do this on a large platter or cutting board. White chocolate ganache behaves a little differently than regular chocolate ganache in that it firms up much more quickly. If by now you find that your ganache has stiffened up too much like I have, just take your mixer and whip it up until it's at a spreadable consistency again. Then pile it onto your brownies. Using a knife or an offset spatula, spread your ganache all the way to the edges. Add some sprinkles if you like. Since it is the holiday season, I'm doing some green and red candy canes, although crushed candy canes would be excellent here. To get 16 even squares, cut in half, and then cut your halves in half. There you have it. Easy, fudgy, peppermint mocha brownies. Thanks for watching and enjoy your day.